The subpoena deuces take them good cause to show what?
You would need good cause for a subpoena ducis tecum, and what you would have to show is that you believed a crime had been committed, or there was a possibility of a crime, or that could lead to other crimes. We
By the
frequently, in criminal enterprises, subpoena cell
By the
phones.
sitting United States senator.
Senator, they would have to have believed you were part of a criminal conspiracy, is my understanding.
Would a judge have to sign off on it? On the subpoena?
Yes, Senator. Well, for a subpoena ducis tecum, Jack Smith probably took it straight to the judge.
Now, the phone companies, particularly their general counsel, if they're worried about civil liability, even with a subpoena to get the phone records of a sitting United States senator. Did I mention it was a sitting United States senator?
Yes, Senator.
The general counsel for that phone company, let's say AT&T, they have the right to seek to quash that subpoena, don't they?
Phone companies frequently do that.
Yeah. And a smart general counsel for that phone company is going to call the sitting United States senator and say, would you like to weigh in on this? Would you like me to quash the subpoena? We're talking about invading someone's privacy here by a sitting United States senator. Could the general counsel for the phone company do that?
Well, Senator, if they believe that a crime could have been committed, they could not tip off the person who committed the crime. Again, I can't comment on details of this particular case.
I'm just asking you theoretically.
I've never seen you commit a crime, Senator Kennedy.
But let's suppose, okay, they didn't want to tip off the sitting United States senator. But the phone company and the general counsel for the phone company, or companies, if there were more than one involved, could say, you know, this is serious as an aneurysm. This is serious as 4 heart attacks and a stroke. This is a sitting United States senator. So general counsel would likely advise the CEO, well, you need to file a motion to quash. The telephone companies could have contested those subpoenas, could they not?
Hypothetically, yes. I can't talk about the facts of this particular case.
We're talking hypothetical.
Senator, subpoenas are issued all the time through phone companies working with the general counsel.
But they can file a motion to quash.
They could, yes.
Yeah.
In any case.
And if they should have filed a motion to quash, and a reasonable person would have filed a motion to quash, because this is a sitting United States senator, and they didn't file a motion to quash, they would incur civil liability, wouldn't they?
Senator, typically phone companies follow a subpoena from a United States attorney.
I know they do, but they don't have to.
They could challenge it, Senator.
Yeah. And if they don't challenge it, they better have a damn good reason. Right? Right?
Senator, I can't talk about the facts of this particular case.
This is just a hypothetical.
In general, hypothetically, Senator, maybe they didn't recognize any of the names of the 8 sitting United States senators.
Hypothetically.
That was a joke.
Or maybe they should have gone to Amazon and buy some testicles online. Instead of just saying, sure, I'll just show you the phone records of a sitting United States senator on the basis of an administrative subpoena. Now, do you have copies of the subpoena applications for
Yes,
these
Senator,
8?
Senator, I can't discuss anything regarding this.
You can't even tell me if you have copies?
I can't discuss any of this.
All right, when are you going to, General, when are you going to be able to discuss it?
I can't discuss whether there is or is not a pending investigation,
I understand,
Senator. This
but
was
let's
just
assume
brought to light
if
by
there is a
Director
pending
Patel.
investigation, I don't want this to get swept under the rug, okay? Because I think you're going to get pushback from all quarters. I think the telecommunication companies are going to be all over you like a bad rash because they've got liability here for just turning over these records when they knew what was going on. I think some FBI agents may have some liability here. I think a special counsel might have some liability here. If I were your special counsel and you had appointed me and I wanted to get the records of a sitting United States senator, is that something you would expect me to tell you as Attorney General of the United States?
They better have.
Yeah.
And
Do we know in this instance of the 8 sitting United States senators if they told Attorney General Garland?
Senator, I just learned about this very recently, as did Director Patel, and we cannot discuss the details. I don't know many of the details.
Well, maybe we ought to get Attorney General Garland here. Do you know if the special counsel told FBI Director Wray? Is that something? Let me put it another way. If I were your special counsel and you were the director of the FBI and I'm trying to get the phone records of a sitting United States senator, did I mention it was a sitting United States senator? Is that something that you would expect me to tell you as director of the FBI?
In general, I would believe the FBI would help execute the subpoenas.
Yeah.
To the businesses.
Okay, I want to switch to another subject in the 12 minutes that I have left, since everybody else got to go over. I've got to ask you about this, General. Secretary Howard Lutnick on October 1 gave an interview to the New York Post about Mr. Epstein. And he described Mr. Epstein as, quote, the greatest blackmailer ever, close quote. Have you reviewed that transcript of that interview?
I have not reviewed the transcript, but I saw the clip of it.
Okay. It appears that Secretary Lutnick was Mr. Epstein's next door neighbor. In fact, their townhomes shared a wall. And the reporter that was talking to Mr. Lutnick, she asked how other prominent men could have been associated with Epstein when Mr. Lutnick could immediately sense that he was a, quote, pervert. And then Secretary Lutnick said, or rather the reporter said, did they see it and ignore it? Do you remember that from the interview?
I do.
And Commerce Secretary Lutnick said, no, they participated. And then Commerce Secretary Lutnick goes on to say, quote, that's what his MO was. You know, get a massage, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume, was a video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever, blackmailed people. That's how he had money, end quote. Is that true?
Senator, as our July memo said, we did not uncover evidence. This case has gone through 3 administrations, as well as former U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta.
I know that, Pam, but have you interviewed Secretary Lutnick?
No, Senator.
Do you plan to?
If he wants to talk to the FBI or the FBI wants to talk to him, that is more than on.
Of course, the company wouldn't just hand them over, Bondi agreed. They demand a subpoena, and rightly so. But Kennedy kept pressing, building the pressure step by step. What exactly would that subpoena need to show to get records on not just 1, but 8 sitting senators? Probable cause, Bondi explained carefully. The back and forth revealed how high the bar sits, especially when powerful elected officials are involved. Kennedy highlighted the safeguards, the ability for companies to challenge subpoenas, and the real risk of civil liability if they rolled over too easily. He painted a picture of cautious general counsel advising CEOs to push back hard because this wasn't some ordinary request. It involved sitting United States senators, after all. The exchange grew sharper as Kennedy questioned whether the phone companies should have filed motions to quash. A reasonable person might have done exactly that to protect privacy, he suggested. Yet if they didn't and simply complied with an administrative subpoena, the liability could come back to bite them. Bondi stayed measured, noting she couldn't dive into specifics of any active matter, but the senator wasn't letting the momentum fade. He wondered aloud about potential fallout for FBI agents, special counsel, and even higher-ups if corners got cut. The room felt the weight of his words. This was an abstract legal theory. It touched on trust in the system itself. Kennedy then pivoted, shifting the hearing into even more charged territory. He brought up Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick's October interview with the New York Post. In it, Lutnick, who once lived right next door to Jeffrey Epstein, dropped comments that raised eyebrows across Washington and beyond. Kennedy asked Bondi directly if she had reviewed the transcript. She had seen the clip, but not the full thing. The senator recounted how the reporter pressed Lutnick on how other prominent men could associate with Epstein when he himself sent something off right away. Lutnick reportedly replied that they didn't just see it. They participated. That line hung in the air. Kennedy continued, quoting Lutnick's description of Epstein's methods. The financier would arrange massages, and what happened in those rooms, Lutnick claimed, often ended up on video. This guy was the greatest blackmailer ever, he said, and that's how he made his money. Reports claim these kinds of operations allowed Epstein to wield influence over the powerful. Kennedy wanted to know if Bondi had followed up. Had the FBI interviewed Lutnick about these assertions? Not yet came the answer, but if Lutnick wanted to speak or the FBI needed to reach out, that remained on the table. The senator pushed further. After comments this direct from someone who knew Epstein personally, shouldn't investigators sit down with him soon? Bondi reiterated the department's earlier findings from a July memo that didn't uncover strong evidence of widespread blackmail schemes. Still, the contrast between official statements and Lutnick's first-hand perspective created an opening for fresh questions. Online discussions exploded with theories about hidden tapes, favors traded in shadows, and why certain names kept surfacing in Epstein-related documents. Fans and critics alike speculated on whether more connections existed among elites, though much of that stays unverified. What made Kennedy's grilling stand out was how methodically he connected the dots. First, the phone records of senators, raising alarms about surveillance and due process. Then the leap to Lutnick's revelations about Epstein's alleged operations. It felt like peeling back layers of story that refuses to stay buried. For years, Epstein's network has fueled rumors of compromising material used to control influential figures. Lutnick's account added fuel because he spoke as someone who had been in close proximity, sharing a wall with the disgraced financier at one point. He described sensing the danger early and distancing himself. Yet his later reflections suggested the blackmail machine ran deeper than many admitted. Bondi navigated the questions with care, emphasizing that the case had spanned multiple administrations. She pointed to extensive file releases already made public, even while acknowledging some redaction errors in the process. Transparency efforts continued, she noted, but certain details couldn't be discussed openly if investigations remained active. Kennedy wasn't satisfied with that alone. He suggested bringing Lutnick before Congress too, and even floated the idea of calling former officials like Attorney General Garland to shed more light. The hearing highlighted ongoing tensions inside the Department of Justice over how aggressively to pursue every lead. Beyond the hearing room, this moment tapped into larger frustrations. Millions of pages from Epstein files have been declassified in phases, yet debates rage about what's still withheld. Redaction controversies, victim protections, and calls for independent audits have kept the story alive. Some lawmakers from both sides have demanded deeper reviews, including access to unredacted materials for Congress. Rumors suggest additional videos or communications could reveal more participants, though official probes so far have not produced major new indictments from that evidence. It's been said that Epstein's web stretched across politics, business, and high society, leaving many wondering who knew what and when. Kennedy's style kept the pace electric. He circled back to the seriousness of invading a senator's privacy without ironclad justification. He joked lightly about companies needing to find some backbone instead of complying too quickly, drawing laughs and nods. But underneath the humor sat real concern about accountability. If telecoms faced pressure or simply chose not to fight certain subpoenas, what precedent did that set? And how did that relate to bigger questions of justice in the Epstein matter? Bondi assured the committee that the department takes every credible lead seriously, but the senator wanted concrete next steps, especially regarding Lutnick. As the exchange wound down, Kennedy urged Bondi not to let this get swept aside. With new details emerging regularly, the public deserved answers. Lutnick's comments stood out because they came from inside the circle of people who encountered Epstein up close. He described the massage setup as central to the operation, with recordings allegedly used for leverage. Whether those claims hold up under scrutiny remains to be seen, but they injected new energy into calls for interviews and deeper digging. Reports claim Epstein traded such material in past legal deals, though that too stays in the realm of discussion rather than confirmed fact. The hearing captured something larger about power in Washington. Senators questioning an attorney general about another cabinet secretary's statements on one of the most infamous figures in recent memory. It mixed legal procedure with raw curiosity about hidden truths. Viewers following the Epstein saga saw familiar patterns: bold accusations, cautious official responses, and persistent questions that never quite get resolved. Kennedy managed to make both the subpoena issues and the Lutnick angle feel urgent and connected. Transitioning from the phone record drama to Lutnick's interview showed how one thread leads to another in this world. What started as a hypothetical about protecting senatorial privacy evolved into demands for more action on potential blackmail networks. Bondi faced tough choices on timing and priorities. The department had already released massive troves of documents, yet critics argued more work lay ahead. Speculation continues about why certain prominent individuals appeared in Epstein's orbit and whether compromising situations were captured and used. Throughout the session, Kennedy kept the focus tight and the questions relentless. He reminded everyone repeatedly about the stakes when sitting senators' records enter the picture. On the Lutnick side, he highlighted the neighbor connection and the immediate sense that something was wrong. That personal insight from a high-level official made the story hit differently. It wasn't distant history. It involved people still shaping policy today. Online forums lit up with analysis of the clip, debating how much weight to give Lutnick's words versus the DOJ's prior memo. As more files surface and hearings continue, the pressure builds for clarity. Bondi's responses left room for follow-up, especially around